to the 4 bells for workout from home number 114. Today we have ourselves a glorious lower body day with a big focus is going to be on hinging and developing the posterior chain, particularly in the form of deadlifts and some hip thrusterization. From there, how we get started and get ready for our strength piece today, we're going to start off with today's warm-up. We're going to do 3 things 3 times. We're going to start off with a simple toe touch with reach. So we're going to look at how to dynamically stretch the hamstrings, as well as looking at extension through the spine as we lean back for 10 reps. From there, we're going to look at a little bit of balance, as well as a little bit of hinging, as we get into the single leg deadlift for 5 reps per leg. And then last but not least, we are going to do some glute activation in the form of some glute bridging on the floor, and again, 5 per leg. So we're going to do these 3 things 3 times in the warm-up. Let's take a look at it. Toe touch and reach, super simple. I'm going to have the legs nice and locked out. The key here is when touching the toes is trying not to allow a sneaky bend of the knees. So I'm going to curl forwards, touch those toes, and then from there, reach up to the ceiling. Curl forwards, touch those toes, and as I go on, it's how much further can I lean back and can I get into extension? So of course, if you can't touch the toes, that's fine. Maybe we're going to touch the shins, the socks, the shoelace. Either way, get as low as you can, 10 reps, and then reach all the way up to the ceiling, or as far back as you can. With the single leg deadlift, of course, we're looking at that Romanian deadlift position. So all we're looking to do is bring that torso down as we hinge. So load the hamstring, load the glutes, load the low back. So standing on one leg, I'm still going to push that hip back. I extend the other leg back, bring my torso close to parallel, and then drive the hip through and squeeze the glutes. So push the hip back, torso parallel, keeping a nice neutral spine. We're not rounding the back or doing anything weird, and then we drive the hip through. Of course, if you find that one leg is much better at balancing than the other, do that weaker side first for 5, and then your stronger side for 5. With the glute bridge, we are going to start in like 90-degree bend of the hips, and I'm going to start just by pushing the hips up. I'm going to bring my one foot in closer to my center of mass, and I extend one leg to the ceiling. So I bring the hips down, drive the hip up, squeeze that glute, relax the hip down. Drive the hip up, squeeze that glute, and we're going to do 5 on one side, 5 on the other. Today's strength piece is 5 sets. Each set is going to be 4 minutes long and split into 2 2-minute windows of time. So normally we play around with 90 seconds. Today we're trying to encourage you to go very heavy if you are safe in form and everything looks beautiful, of course. But we're going to give you a little bit of extra time to make sure that we have a little bit of time for recovery. So in our first 2 minutes today, you've got a choice. If you have a barbell and you can do things, or if you have a lot of dumbbells or kettlebells and you can do things bilaterally, we're going to do a 2-legged deadlift today for 10 reps. Of course, if you don't have a barbell or you don't have a lot of weights, we're going to add a balance and stability component into it, as well as hinging, and by doing single leg deadlifts, which we'll be doing for 8 per leg. With both of these, whichever one you choose, we're trying to get progressively heavier as those 5 sets go on. From there, as we get into our second 2 minutes, we're going to do some single leg hip thrusting today. We're going to do that for 12 reps per leg. We're going to talk about how to load just one side of your body, and of course, how that's going to affect range of motion. So let's take a look at both of these and how we should be attacking today's strength piece. When it comes to deadlifting on 2 legs bilaterally, if we're using a barbell, the approximate foot position we want to have is wherever we would naturally jump. So if you and I are going to have a jumping competition, I doubt your legs will be super wide or super close together. You can be somewhere around hip width where you can generate a lot of velocity, and that's what we want to do to this barbell. Take it and add a lot of velocity vertically. So I'm going to set my feet up roughly about hip width, wherever I would jump, and I'm going to turn my toes out just a couple of degrees if I know I have tight hips. From here, don't worry about the back as we set up the hands. I set up the hands first, then I bring the hips low, chest high, nice flat neutral spine, shoulders and hips raise together, we push the hips through, and on the way back it's just a nice hip hinge. We lead with the hip, load the glutes, load the hamstrings, and when I get to knee height, those hips come down. So the way up and the way down are mirrors of each other. We're going to do 10 deadlifts, and if we can, get heavier each set. So with our single leg deadlifts, we already know how to do them, we did them in the warm-up, but now we want to add some load to it. So if I'm standing on my right leg, what makes me feel most stable? Holding the weight on the opposite side, contralaterally, holding the weight on the same side, ipsilaterally, or do you want to hold on to 2 weights and use both hands to stabilize the upper back? Whichever you're going to do, same rules apply. Chest is up, hips push back, We load the hamstring, load the glute, come to parallel, we drive the hips forward and squeeze the glute. So we're going to do 8 per side and try and get heavier as the sets go on. When it comes to hip thrust, we need a bench or a box to set up on, and ideally it's got soft edge so it doesn't jab us, well, in the upper back is the simplest place. This setup position should be roughly like bottom of the shoulder blades, chest height, but of course on the back of us. So if I set up first of all, I'm going to set myself up just below my shoulder blades. From here we set the feet up next. So if you find that single leg hip thrusts just don't work well for you, you can always do the bilateral version, the 2-legged version. But of course if I can, I'm going to bring one foot in, I'm going to bring the hip down, I'm going to load it, and I'm going to do 12 on one side, 12 on the other. If that is very manageable for you, you can grab a dumbbell, put it onto one side, watch your tender zone. We put the leg up, we hinge down, and then we drive up, adding a little bit of weight onto that one side. So if we can, 12 per side of a hip thrust. With our conditioning piece today, a slightly different format. What we've got is we've got 3 exercises. You can see 1, 2, 3. And what we're going to do is we're going to do 30 seconds of one side of the body, 30 seconds of the other side of the body, and 30 seconds rest for each station. So that means each station is going to be 90 seconds long, and we're going to do them 4 times through today. So that's how our conditioning piece is going to work. So in my first exercise, we're going to do a dumbbell hang squat clean thruster, which is a very long title of movement, but it's quite simple once you've done it. I'm going to do 30 seconds with the dumbbell in my whichever hand you prefer, first of all, left or right. Once I've done 30 seconds in this hand, I then switch over 30 seconds in this hand, and then I take a 30-second rest. I then move on to our next exercise, dumbbell hang snatch, so bringing the dumbbell from the hip to overhead. I'm going to do 30 seconds on one arm, followed by 30 seconds on the other arm, followed by a 30-second rest. And then last but not least, we are going to do some side planking. You can be on the elbow, on the hand, star formation, whichever you prefer. And again, I'm going to do 30 seconds on one arm, 30 seconds on the other, and 30 seconds rest. We're doing these 3 things 4 times. Let's take a look at them. With the hang squat clean thruster, sounds like a ton of stuff going on at once. All we first of all need to do is our hang squat clean. So that means we're going to start from a hang position. So that means dumbbell can be in between the legs, and then we need to get into a clean position. So from there, I'm just going to keep the upper arm close to the body and bring the dumbbell to the shoulder, using my hips to get the weight up there. So I hinge, and that's my hang clean. But we're missing one word, which is the squat. So as I do my clean, I descend into a squat. Where is the thruster? It's after the squat. So we do a hang, clean, squat, thruster, and I'm going to do 30 reps. Not 30 reps, 30 seconds, that would be excessive. 30 seconds on one side, 30 seconds on the other, followed by 30 seconds of rest. With the dumbbell hang snatch, very similar movement pattern to the hang squat clean thruster. We're still using that hinge to put some momentum on our dumbbell. Different to the clean. In the clean, we're thumbs up because we're bringing the weight to the shoulder. In the hang snatch, we're going to have the palm down, pronated, and I'm going to let the elbow come up, keep the dumbbell close to my body, and then I turn over in one fluid motion. So we come down, up, big hip drive, big turnover overhead, and once I've done 30 seconds on one side, I do 30 seconds on the other, and then I take a 30-second rest. When it comes to our side plank, do you like to do side planks on the elbow? Do you like to do them on the hand? Whichever works best with you is perfectly fine. When I make a decision about elbow or hand, do I like to have the knee slightly bent with just the hip pushed up? Do I like to have the legs straight but the feet staggered? Do I like to have the feet stacked on top of each other? Either way, whichever side plank variation works best for me, find the one that works for you. We're going to do 30 seconds on one side, 30 seconds on the other, and then take a 30-second rest. So we're going to do that 30-30-30 format with the hang squat clean thruster, the hang power snatch, and of course the side plank. We're going to do those 3 things 4 times in our conditioning piece today. That was workout from home number 114. Have yourself a wonderful time and let us know how you got on.